fish in the water.
What the?
And get an unexpected visitor from the edge of a war zone.
It's everything you wish for. Your site traffic is skyrocketing until this happens. Be careful what you wish for. Build your site on a platform that's engineered for success. So as traffic spikes, instead of overloading your servers, your site infrastructure scales to handle it. Backed up by tens of thousands of servers worldwide, maintaining 99.98% uptime. Wix.
And then, I saved hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Liberty.
We're 26 hours into our exclusive Digging for the Truth expedition in search of the final resting place of Atlantis. That means there's only 46 hours left before we have to return to port.
We're at sea. We're leaving the port of Limassol, heading eastward along the southern coast of Cyprus.
We're headed to a precise spot that's 68 miles east of Cyprus and 50 miles west of Syria. At a top speed of 9 knots, it'll take a precious 11 hours to reach our destination. Meaning once we get on site, we'll have just a little over 24 hours to complete our work. The trip out quickly gets interesting. While Robert and I are chatting on the deck, we get a surprise visitor.
What the?
We're in an area that's military sensitive. We've got Syria, Lebanon, Cyprus. These are international waters, but we're a big ship in an area that many ships don't come.
Our expedition set sail shortly after the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in the summer of 2006. We're not too far from the edges of the Israeli blockade. We've attracted some attention.
That's the British Royal Navy.
One of the realities of being in our current location is that certain military interests might be curious about what we're doing here.
We seem to have passed inspection.
Whoa!
Right on.
And after taking a polite British curtsy, the helicopter zooms off to leave us to our research.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
We still have some time left before we reach the location, so I pay a visit to Robert's technical advisor up in the control room. Geologist Patrick Lowry is president of the Scotia Group, based out of Houston. He spends most of his time surveying the world's oceans for oil, but for the last 7 years, he's been helping Robert with his research.
Robert had gotten a data set and needed to map it to see the seafloor of the eastern Mediterranean. Early on, with the initial data, I saw nothing. There was nothing about it that would suggest there was anything there at all.
But Robert was adamant that there was more than immediately met the eye. He was fixated on a mound in the middle of the large rectangular plain that he'd identified as the Plain of Atlantis. This mound was, he believed, the center of Atlantis City, the Acropolis Hill where the Temple of Poseidon would have once stood. Patrick saw nothing remarkable about the mound.
I know it.
Then he got a look at high-resolution scans of the seafloor produced by a French oil exploration project.
When the latest data came from the French, it then had something for the very first time that was unique in its own character and different from anything in the area. As a geologist, I look for natural causes first. But when you look at the character of this ridge out front, I had to say to Robert, it is awfully regular in nature.
And based on your expertise, you would agree that this is perhaps an anomaly?
This is an anomaly.
It is an anomaly.
Yes. You can see, even on this image, and this is from the raw data, the very straight line nature of this.
Robert believes these ridges are the remains of the double-walled mound that Plato described.
You can see it's almost equal height all the way along. It's almost equal width. And then this 90-degree corner going back here. We also see an interesting feature coming off this shoulder over here that is hard to explain geologically. The you'd have to ask yourself what natural processes would lead to this type of very regular feature.
You haven't seen anything like this elsewhere?
No, and there is nothing else like this in this area. The key now is to take actual measurements across this that are definitive, that'll show us whether or not this is strictly geological, and I think we'll be able to see that if that's the case, or whether or not this is, for example, poured with blocks of stone, which then it would be a man-made wall. Should be obvious.
Yeah, and exciting.
It is. Yeah, it is suspense at its best, isn't it?
Certainly worthy of a closer look. So with our
This closer look is what our sub-bottom profiler provides. We'll be towing it just a few feet above these mysterious ridges. It works by transmitting powerful sonar waves that penetrate the seafloor, up to 150 feet. It then sends the signal it receives back up the miles of coaxial cable to the control room, where Patrick will analyze the readings. We'll have only a few chances to pass over the ridges and gather data. So shortly before our arrival, Robert holds a crew briefing to review the game plan.
Okay, well, this is the purported Acropolis Hill. This is the area that we're going to be doing most of our investigation. Points of interest are the main wall here, the secondary wall here, this canal, and the summit itself.
The first step is working out exactly where to steer the towfish with our side-scan sonar and sub-bottom profiler. We decide to shoot for a cross-section of the walls, rather than try to run down the narrow length.
Over 3,000 styles starting at $6 and find your perfect pair or two. Shop now at iBuyDirect.com.
It's critical that the data we get is reliable, and we want to be sure that we don't miss our target.
If it's a hard structure and it has some kind of shape to it, like two walls or something like that, then that's very clear proof. But this come back.
Clear proof is what we're all after. And while we're all excited, there's also a very serious mood in the air. Everybody hopes that we come back with something definitive.
But I'm an optimist, and I'm a dreamer, and I hope that this works out. But I want to make sure that because of the manpower, dollars, time it takes to do this kind of expedition,
we
that
move
whatever
off
data
somewhere
we
else. Quiet.
So conclusively, no,
Count on
it's not
attention.
made.
Eat meat. Get you some green fire.
It will be clear. It will be obvious if it's organized in any way like we'd expect in ruins. It should be very obvious.
The planning will continue throughout the night. But we won't really be able to tell what's down there until we get the sub-bottom profiler in the water. We'll be on site in just a few more hours, so we don't have much longer to wait.
Put the towfish in, we need to know how much water is below the ship. So on starboard side, they're putting in a very high power depth gauge. It's an echo sounder so that we know exactly how much water there is so that thing doesn't hit bottom. Once we get our bearings, and we line up and go for the target zone.
After all our preparations, our towfish is finally ready to check out the bit of real estate that Robert Sarmast believes is the sunken Atlantis.
Preparing the towfish for submersion. How's it feel? It feels great. Yeah,
The hour has come.
Spotty once said,
the next time you
over
see
their
that fish,
healthy meat pies.
we will know a
Think
lot
about
more
it.
about what's
You
below.
never know till you
right.
know, do you? Smart thinking.
Good luck, Robert.
Thanks, Josh.
See how it goes from here. Let's do it.
Now that the towfish is in the water, it's just a matter of letting out the cable and lining up to make our first run.
Nice
see some commotion over in Huntersville. Gotta be you, huh?
But almost immediately, something goes wrong.
What's going on?
Walter
We're pulling it back in.
I understand that it's not getting sick.
Again? Maybe it wasn't such a bright move sticking around when they found out the town was running up with
So it
those
hit
big
1,100
dope
meters and then
balloons. Why don't you go
And it's
figure out what
perfectly
happened to the diehards
talking.
next? Ross just plain starved after Margie managed.
Our only course of action is to reel the cable back in and see what's wrong.
Margie had her own room at the Sunny Top
With our
Ski
time
Lane.
limitations,
It's her
this
last known
is the
location.
last thing we
See if
need.
she left anything behind.
The next few minutes are incredibly tense. We have no idea what happened.
Oh, here it comes. That's not how I remember looking.
As the cable rises out of the water, we can't believe what we're seeing.
Well, I've never seen that before. This never happened before? You ever see something like this?
The coaxial cable is hopelessly knotted. Clearly, this is why we've lost communication with the towfish.
The engineers have said they've never seen this before. This could bring our expedition to a screeching halt.
How the hell did that happen? You ever see something like this?
When we come back, we try to salvage our expedition as the clock ticks down. I'm in the Eastern Mediterranean on the most advanced search for Atlantis ever conducted. We're using state-of-the-art scanning equipment to survey a strange anomaly a mile deep that expedition leader Robert Sarmast believes is proof of the lost continent. But our time is limited. And just as we've gotten started, our expedition could be coming to a sudden halt.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
The cable that connects to the towfish holding our sonar and sub-bottom profiler has gotten horribly tangled.
This never happened before? How the hell did that happen?
I mean, the fish is in the water. We can see it. It's not that far below the ship, but we can't get it up on deck because of that knot.
There's no way the knotted cable can fit through the pulley on the